Habakkuk lived in the last decades of the existence of the kingdom of Judah during the time of King Joachim, when the nation stood on the edge of the abyss between the fall of Assyria and the rise of Babylon, when lawlessness, corruption, and spiritual decay reigned inside the country. It was the time after the righteous King Josiah, who cleansed the temple and returned the people to the law, but his son Joachim betrayed everything his father had fought for, turning Jerusalem into a city of violence, plunder, and unfair judgment. Habakkuk looked around and saw what many people see in any era. The wicked are flourishing, the righteous are suffering, the law has lost its force, the court has turned into a farce, the strong are crushing the weak, the rich are robbing the poor, and God is silent. It was not an abstract evil somewhere far away, but the concrete reality of his city, his people, and his time. Every day the prophet took to the streets and saw looting, violence, hostility, strife, and unfair trials, and it tore his heart. And unlike most people who either come to terms with reality or become embittered in impotence, Habakkuk did what only the elect can do. He came to God and demanded an answer. He did not ask politely, he did not humbly beg, but he called out reproachfully, "How long, Lord?" This is a question that sounds like an accusation of inaction, as a demand to explain why the Almighty Creator allows lawlessness to reign on the earth that he created. "How long, Lord, will I cry out, and you will not hear? Will I cry out to you for violence, and you will not save? Why do you let me see wickedness and look at disasters? Plunder and violence are before me, and enmity is rising, and strife is rising." Habakkuk wasn't just stating the facts. He was almost accusing God of forcing him, a weak and sinful prophet, to witness all this horror, without giving him the opportunity to change anything. The prophet pointed out a paradox. The law of God is given, but has lost its force. Judgment exists, but is unfair. The wicked prevail over the righteous, and no retribution follows. Because of this, the law has lost its force, and there is no proper court. Since the wicked overcomes the righteous, the judgment is perverse. The justice system is completely corrupt, and the more a person sins, the more he flourishes, and the righteous are crushed and humiliated. And the most painful question did not sound like philosophical reflection, but like a cry from the soul. "Why are you letting me see this?" Habakkuk asked God. "Why did you make me a prophet so that I could see all this evil and not be able to change anything? Why did you open my eyes to injustice if I'm powerless to stop it? Wouldn't it be better to live in ignorance of how others live?" God replied, but this answer was not a consolation, but a nightmare. "Look among the nations and look closely, and you will be greatly amazed, for I will do in your days a thing that you would not believe if you were told." It sounded ominous. God wasn't promising relief, but something so terrible that the human mind refuses to believe it until it sees it with its own eyes. Then came the revelation of the Chaldean Babylonians, a violent and unstoppable nation that is on its way to conquer the world. "Behold, I will raise up the Chaldeans, a cruel and unbridled people who walk in the latitudes of the earth, to take possession of villages that do not belong to them." God described them as an invincible war machine. Their horses are faster than leopards. Their horsemen fly like eagles at prey. They laugh at fortifications, build a siege rampart, and take the city. But the most shocking thing was in the finale. God himself sends this terrifying force. "You, Lord, have appointed him for judgment, and you, my rock, have appointed him for punishment." Habakkuk complained about the injustice in Judea, and God replied, "I will send even more unjust conquerors to destroy your people." The prophet was praying for deliverance, and he heard a prophecy about a catastrophe, and then Habakkuk did something unprecedented. He did not shut up in horror, did not bow down in humble acceptance, but continued to argue with God, moving to an even deeper level of the issue. If the first complaint was about injustice among people, then the second concerned the nature of God himself. "Have you not been from time immemorial, O Lord my God, my Holy One? We're not going to die. You, Lord, only allowed him to be tried. My rock, you appointed him as a punishment." Habakkuk began by affirming faith. God is holy, eternal, and just, but then asked a question that broke logic. It is not in your pure eyes to look at evil deeds, and you cannot look at oppression. Why do you look at evildoers and remain silent when the wicked devour someone who is more righteous than him? If your holiness cannot see evil, how can you use the wicked Chaldeans as a tool to judge the less wicked Jews? The prophet pointed out the paradox Yes, Judea is sinful, but the Chaldeans are even worse. They worship idols, attribute their power to false gods, kill indiscriminately, and destroy nations for the sake of plunder. Is that why you gave people like fish in the sea, like creeping things that have no ruler? He drags them all away, captures them in his net and takes them into his nets, and therefore rejoices and triumphs. Do the Chaldeans catch nations like fish, sacrifice to their nets and swords, and does God allow it? After this second complaint, Habakkuk did something symbolic and profound. I stood on my guard and, standing on the tower, watched to find out what he would say in me and what I would answer to my complaint. The prophet literally took the position of a watchtower on the tower, waiting for God's answer not with passive humility, but with active attention. He knew that he had asked a difficult question and was ready to wait as long as it took to hear the answer. It was not a rebellion against God, but an insistence on understanding. Habakkuk did not reject the Lord, but wanted to comprehend his ways, even if they seemed contradictory. He stood at his post like a lookout waiting for a messenger from the battlefield, and God did not condemn him for his audacity, but responded with a revelation that became the cornerstone of biblical theology. And the Lord said, "Write down the vision, and write it clearly on the tablets so that the reader can easily read it. For the vision still refers to a certain time and speaks of the end and will not deceive. And even if it slows down, wait for it will certainly come true, it will not be cancelled." God ordered us to write down the answer so that even a running person could read it. The truth must be clear, accessible, and indisputable. And then came a phrase that the Apostle Paul quotes 3 times in the New Testament, a phrase that became the motto of the Reformation, the foundation of Protestant theology, and the key to understanding salvation. The righteous shall live by his faith. In the context of Habakkuk's response, this meant, yes, the Chaldeans will come. Yes, there will be a catastrophe. Yes, many will die. But those who trust God, who live by faith and not by what their eyes see, will survive. God contrasted 2 people, a proud, arrogant one who relies on his strength, and a righteous one who lives by faith. The proud one is Babylon, which conquers the world, but is itself doomed to fall. A righteous person is someone who, in chaos and injustice, continues to trust God, knowing that he is just, even when circumstances cry out to the contrary. Then God gave 5 woes to the wicked conquerors. Woe to those who hoard not their own. Woe to those who build a house by unrighteous acquisition. Woe to those who build a city on blood. Woe to those who get their neighbour drunk. Woe to those who worship idols. Every sorrow was a sentence to Babylon. Yes, God uses them as an instrument of judgment, but they themselves will be judged for their cruelty and idolatry.